I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum. They love that one.
Hail to the king, baby.
Parody was the programmer for all the Duke games, and he was working on a game that he was calling heavy metal at the time because he just wanted that sort of, heavy metal attitude. And I said, look, why don't we name it after a character like comics do? So we started batting around names, and I remember I came up with the name Duke because I felt like it was a good, strong, powerful first name, and Todd came up with the idea for Nukem as the last name. So,
Bitchin'.
Really, the Duke Nukem look didn't come about until my partner, George Broussard, he changed the hair color from white to yellow and made it a short military crop, and he gave Duke this bright white smile.
Damn, I'm looking good.
It just turned into a fun little platformer with shooting. He didn't wear armor. We had him do crazy flips sometimes when he jumped, almost like he's showing off. That was really the roots of his character that we embellished with each game.
I was kind of creative directing over development of Duke Nukem 2, and I said, what is the big thing about Duke? Well, he's really kind of vain. What if he collected his own memorabilia? So he collects his own memorabilia in Duke Nukem 2.
I am back.
In Duke 3, it kind of went over the top again.
It all really came together with Duke Nukem 3D.
The initial version of Duke 3D, they were just doing a bunch of levels. It just wasn't turning out fun.
Kill me.
At one point, I was watching the Duke team members work on the game till 5 p.m., say we are done with work, and then play Doom together. I just pulled George into a room, closed the door, and said, this game is not turning out fun. Everybody is stopping working on it and playing Doom. You have to intervene and make this a fun game. And to George's credit, he got rid of the previous head of it and took it over himself. And that was turning out really fun. They kind of used a bunch of known movie lines as Duke things.
Groovy. Groovy.
In 1990, I moved here to San Diego. In 1995, Lonnie Manella, the casting director, was in my studio to record an automobile dealer commercial. And she came in, we're setting up the microphones, and I turned my mic on and I started doing wacky voices and being crazy, just, to kind of show off to her. And she said, wow, you've got remarkable range. How would you like to act in video games? And I'd played a few. There's no voices in video games. She goes, well, there's gonna be. And there's this game called Duke Nukem that I think you'd be great for. The very first game that I auditioned for, and I landed it that day.
Damn, I'm good.
Lonnie Manella was with me in the studio as the director, and she dialed up George Broussard. George gets on the phone, and Lonnie says, George, tell John what you think the character should be like. What is he based on? He's a badass character. Who's that badass you have in mind? For some reason, he thought Charles Bronson. No, Charles Bronson. You want me to talk like Charles Bronson? He goes, no, that's not it. And Lonnie suggested that I imitate Clint Eastwood from Dirty Harry.
So you gotta ask yourself, do you feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
And George went, I like that tonality. But Duke Nukem is a roided out, huge, muscular dude. I said, okay, I'll just lower it an octave.
Well, do you feel lucky? Do you, punk?
And that was it.
And I've been talking like this now for 30 years?
We could not have picked a better voice actor for Duke with Jon St. John. He relished the role. To this day, he played it with gritty enthusiasm and just embraced the direction that George Broussard gave him for the character.
Oh, yeah. I get requests for these lines on social media all the time. But of course, I've found a way to monetize it, so now I just send them to my Cameo.
Jason King is chewing gum and kicking ass on Kung Fu Hot Dog. And guess what? He's all out of ass.
Duke Nukem added a level of tongue-in-cheek machismo to the first-person shooter genre.
If the only thing you know about first-person shooter is Doom and Quake and, demons and hell and, blah, 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 and then you have this completely over-the-top character, I think the biggest impression that it made on me was that a game like this doesn't have to take itself so seriously,
I ain't afraid of no Quake.
I mean, that was the first time I think I played a game where the character had a personality, more like a 90s action film, Last Action Hero, Demolition Man, all these movies had a bit of an awareness and a comedy factor.
Don't give up your day job.
The folks at Apogee, they came up with all the lines. Well, they stole most of them, obviously. Duke Nukem's lines were mostly stolen.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
I think what happened with Scott Miller and George Broussard was they clearly were big fans of genre films such as Evil Dead and They Live, and they basically just ripped lines from those movies that are classic, iconic films and kind of introduced it to a new generation of kids that didn't even know what those lines were from.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hail to the king, baby.
Oh, there were some lines that I was triggered by Lonnie during the recording session. For some reason, I find the captain's log somewhere, and I couldn't stop thinking about a turd at that point.
A turd floating? No way. You guys are funny. Okay, here we go.
Huh, the captain's log.
I can't do it.
Huh, the captain's
I can't. Every time I think about it.
I could never say it without laughing.
rockin'.
He put together a demo for the build engine in a very short amount of time, and it was just like very impressive.
Build really was started from a public announcement from id Software announcing all the features of Doom. This was in early '93, so I would read through the features one by one. It was obviously really ambitious. And so I started prototyping. I knew about the angled walls and the ceilings and floors, but the important thing is it was good enough to get Apogee's interest.
Ruby.
I actually used the trick, the big feature, the ability to look up and down. Nobody really told me how I could do it, so I thought to myself, well, I could just shift the horizon up and down. It might not be correct perspective, but it'll actually allow you to still look up and down.
Due to the limitations of the Doom engine, they really couldn't capture cityscapes because the game only allowed flat ground and vertical walls.
One of the biggest things I added that really changed the design of everything was the addition of slopes.
Duke, because it had the ability to do slanted walls, was able to do slanted roofs, dumpsters that actually had the slanted roof. It allowed them a lot more freedom in level design.
We had contract artists that would come and go, but the core group that was in there every morning, evening, night was 8 to 10 people. And for that whole game, there was 2 level designers, me and Alan Bloom. Alan and I basically had our freedom to, I was never told, do a sushi bar or do a this, do that. Once we had gotten the level started, like, okay, it's gonna be a sushi restaurant, and here I fleshed out most of the geometry. Then a lot of input came in, like we tested every night.
Born to be wild.
The Abyss, where it's a whole canyon. It has an earthquake halfway through where stuff comes down and everything. The Abyss is a big hallway that goes like this and then changes when everything comes down.
Hollywood Holocaust, the opening map. You had memorable locations, the movie screen, and you could discover the secret behind it and so on. Arcade games in there that you could play.
Don't have time to play with myself.
It wasn't a big map, but it just set the stage for the entire experience and get the game off on the right foot.
With Duke 3D, their environmental design with interactive environments was so important to FPS games. They raised the bar when they did that.
That's one doomed Space Marine. Ruby.
That was the first FPS where the world seemed real. Like Doom was all these weird space stations and these hellish environments, and then Duke Nukem was, this is like a city street, and this is a store, and this is a nightclub, and there's a pool table, and there's a bathroom. I can't really remember seeing any game prior to that kind of nailed that feeling of authenticity.
We can't compete with what Doom does well. It's very dark, gritty, very serious. So we decided to do a lot of things that Doom wasn't doing. Gave Duke Nukem a voice.
Those alien bastards shot up my ride.
We added humor to the game.
Kill and die.
Interactive environments.
I love that the animators took the time to show Duke perched on top of an alien neck taking a dump.
That is just the best thing ever.
And you add in that interactivity, you add in the character of Duke Nukem, you add in their over-the-top mentality and, the weaponry and that was in that game. You had an instant classic with Duke Nukem that took first-person shooters to the next level.
And even the shrink ray's fun. Like, it's just so creative for its time.
Shrink people with a shrink ray, you could go up and stomp on them. I just thought that was... I smiled and laughed every time I saw that. Originally, it was my combat boots that were used as the boot, and then, of course, Richard Gray will tell you later designer one weekend. They needed to make an art tweak. He wore his own combat boots.
That's my foot. Those are my. I still have the boots right here in Texas. He has a pair too, but I can tell those are my blue jeans. And
he loves to brag about how he stole my glory by putting his foot in the game.
It's down to you and me, you one-eyed freak.
When I recorded the first Duke Nukem 3D game,
Come get some.
I did not know there was any kind of following whatsoever until 1999 or 2000 when I got my first invitation to a convention. I was flown across country, first class, put up in a really nice hotel, and they pay me, and the fans acted like I'm some kind of superstar, and I was baffled by it. I was absolutely blown away that people came out to see me. At the end of the convention, they said, "Hey, thank you so much. You helped bump up our attendance by like 5,000 people this year." And I'm like, what? I can't believe anybody even knows this game. And they couldn't believe that I didn't know Duke Nukem 3D was a big deal.
Let's rock.
Duke 3D was a game that kind of put us at the same level as id Software. And so that was like, okay, we've arrived with Duke 3D.
So Duke turned into a fantastic game. If I had to pick between doing the first Quake and doing Duke, I would pick Duke. I feel more happy about what we did.
It was so fun. I had so much fun playing through that entire game. They did what they needed to do right. That's why you still know who Duke Nukem is now, 20 some years later.
Duke Nukem and I share very few commonalities, except that we both like bubblegum. Other than that, we're nothing alike.
The question is, do you have bubblegum?
Oh, damn. And I'm all out of gum.